we're ready to get started. Hi everybody, thank you for coming to our cosplay panel. I'm seeing so many friends in the room. So, we are members of the SheProp prop making community, which is a really wonderful community group of women, trans, non-binary, and other marginalized prop makers and costumers. And we are going to tell you all about the ways we have bootlegged our way into cosplay success. Success? Yeah. We've been around for about 6 years. It's a really wonderful group. I usually hang out in our Facebook community and do online panels. We have Discord. We'll give it another plug in the end, but we will jump right into the actual panel itself. So, we're going to do introductions, and we're going to start with Corey, and then Amanda, and then Kevin. Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm Sager, just trying to cosplay. I'm known for using a lot of strange materials, mainly garbage from my neighborhood. And I try to keep all my cosplays under budget. I was successful with this one under $100. And I competed in it, placed their New York City Comic Con. And so my mission is to, you don't need the fanciest tools, you don't need fancy materials, you can still compete with garbage.
Hi everybody, I'm Amanda. I'm for Little Avengers Cosplay. Name of my Insta, I would suggest a ton of kids. So I've gotten really good over the last 6 years at repurposing and taking advantage of making different things. Because these kids keep growing. Late I made a door last year, and my baby door is now 6 inches taller than he was when I made it a year ago. So or you can grow again.
Hello, I'm known as Tema. My handle would be Tema Time, and I'm generally known for doing character makeup to look like specific different characters, and I like to go pretty hard and extra on all my costumes to try to make them as accurate as possible. So a lot of the time that means using items that we not normally think to use because, you know, you never know what weird things sitting around the house that like, you know. But yeah, so I just use really weird stuff to make things as accurate as possible because we don't all have a lot of money. So that's my go-to.
And I'm Lacey. I've been cosplaying for about 8 years, and I was really excited about this idea when it occurred to us a few months ago. Because we do cosplay crimes panels on how women messed up and recovered or not on getting to the cosplay that we made, but
for 20 years, you know, we could use like the heat gun on the carpet. Cosplay crimes.
like you were saying, there are so many random items and things that people use. I went on Threads, which is a pretty decent community now for cosplayers, since Twitter is a little bit of a mess. So this one, she's used a shower curtain for her cosplay. This Sylvanas cosplay has a ton of dollar store props worked into it. This person makes their cosplays entirely out of duct tape, which I enjoyed. I did ask everyone on this conversation for permission before screenshotting, but can I please share this at Comic-Con? And of course, everyone's like, don't know. No, they were all very excited. So just as a smattering of stuff from the community, there's a wide range. So each of our little panels are going to talk about the project that we've done. I believe we have Corey first, which this is your intro slide again. I'm so sorry, I've gone out of order. Sue me. I'll see you guys. Terrible moderator. But yeah, Corey, tell us about this cosplay.
So I want to emphasize about looking around you and seeing what might have cosplay applications. And for me, I had a pretty horrible Diet Pepsi habit, but there were these lovely scalloped tops on the plastic bottles. And I was like, those would make amazing mermaid tails. So that's how most of this is made. It took me 2 years to drink enough Diet Pepsi. I did wean myself off. I'm no longer a drinker.
Good job.
use with any scalloped container. So like if you have a yogurt vacation or whatever, that has like a nice shape. Basically, so you take these spray adhesive and crinkle up some iridescent cellophane, and then you can heat it up to make it more wrinkled, or you can just simply press it on and kind of smooth it out. And then you cut them all out, and then you paint the back of them so the front remains very shiny. And you can do it ombre, whatever type of effect. Wow, I thought I could go on.
When you say heat it up, like with a heat gun or
With a
just
heat gun.
hair dryer?
But I realized, so I think I heated up the first 300, and then realized that I didn't need to do that. That it stuck just fine without it. And it also worked a lot of them, so I wasted a lot of the scales. I had to do even more diamonds to get enough scales.
When you competed, did you have a build book for this?
Yes, I do.
How long is it? How do you make a build book?
I try to keep, I'm also a judge, so I keep my build books short and sweet because you really don't have time to read them. So it's like your page of inspiration, try to combine all your techniques into one page if they're similar. I think this one was about 7 pages long, never go over 10.
Who's next in my slides? Let's see. I love these photos that you sent. I hadn't even been able to finish, and they're so dramatic. But
Gideon, I should start by saying that I cannot recommend enough. I have like a dresser with different drawers for things, and I keep gloves, even if they go bad, they're going to be drawers. If you've got string or shoelaces or anything like that, I keep them in. Ribbons from gifts that people have given, I keep it in. I have a drawer for like shiny metallic things, for buttons, for charms that are sometimes attached to like little pants or whatever it is you get, and I keep all of it. And it comes in so handy. So for Gideon, to start with, she has these knuckle knives, and I went through and I found an old working glove, and it already had the pattern on the knuckles for the knuckle knives to make the base out of. And so I just cut everything but this part right here off of it, and was able to build with craft foam off of the grooves that were already in the glove. And sometimes making stuff out of nothing is also, you can go to the thrift store, the 99-cent store. Amazon's great. A lot of times, it's like one of my favorite pro tips is you can go on Amazon and buy a very, very cheap costume for a completely different character that works really well. So I went on Amazon and bought the cheapest Jedi robe I possibly could find. It was like $9. And I just tore the sleeves off. And I was able to just wrap it, and that was great. And then I went and bought like a poncho for like $4. She had this shredded fabric across her shoulders, so I just bought this poncho for like $4. And I ripped off the hood and tore off the bottom part, and it was just perfect. And like, and I had like a pair of like cargo pants from work. And so, it's not just about like, it's finding things around your house, it's going to the 99-cent store, the thrift store, it's, and it's using things like Amazon. And, because a lot of times it's like those weird costumes or those weird patterns. And if you can find, a lot of times my favorite thing to do is if you have a character is to like zoom into whatever it is you're trying to make and do a Google image search and see to find other characters that have similar looking items, and then you can just buy a cheap version of like, Lebanese costume or whatever, and then use that for this other thing. And it's extremely good. And if nothing else, you can also take it apart and use it as a pattern, which is a lot easier sometimes than following the pattern. But yeah, I like to keep things. And sometimes you go to the 99-cent store and kind of just keep an eye out for things that you can be like, oh, I could probably use this at some point. Like, there's some skulls, or here's like, a plastic bowl, or, and you can just, when sometimes when, you're sad and you want to go shopping, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, I'll go to the 99-cent store and I'll spend like $10, but I'll get all these things that I can use for cosplay in the future, and it ends up actually like really coming in clutch. If I'm getting rid of a pair of boots, take the zipper, take the buckles, take the shoelaces, and get rid of everything else, you know, and when you're getting rid of clothes, if you're gonna throw them away, if there's anything on there that you might be able to use for something, take them off. Sometimes I'll tear the sleeves off and keep just the sleeves for if I need to do, you know, something for, you know, whatever. But yeah, so anything can be used. You can get stuff from the grocery store, the thrift stores, the eBay, Amazon, you know, your friend's house, garden sales. So yeah, it's just kind of like keep an eye out and an open mind when you're going around and browsing through for things that you can possibly use.
Yeah, you have to like think about what the building blocks are of the thing and then look out for them and then
Yeah, this costume I decided to do like 4 days before like on, and so it just, I was like, I got this, pulled it right out of my butt, and I'm good with it, you know, and it helps that she's very toned up, warm, blah, 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 so you don't have to really breathe, but.
I would pull together a hair mark to go with Gideon tomorrow. No, I went through my store. Yeah, no, it's in the hotel room. Please be my husband, necromancer girlfriend.
Oh my God. No, but I know being cavalier.
She'll be my cavalier.
Yes,
I'll be the
you be the
necromancer.
next girlfriend.
Okay, so we have our cosplays for tomorrow.
All right, okay, well, solved.
Okay.
Tell us about Odin.
And on this note,
Speaking of queers in space, tell us about our Lord and Savior for a little bit.
all right, so this was for a project. Do you ever feel like you just got fly by the seat of your pants, or is it just me? Oh, it's your pants. We are just living life at home. Take your pants off. Good, thank you. I feel better. I feel validated. Me too. Pisces. So we had an invitation from Lucas 2 springs ago for season 3 of Mandalorian, which was awesome. Except the Peligoda that I built from scratch was one of those, everything that could possibly go wrong with this build did. I almost ended up in the emergency room because on the mesh on the sleeves, my needle shattered and it fell down. Like, oh, it was there. The end results were awesome, but I prefer not to have deadly costumes. So we get to about 2 days out, and I'm like, I have neglected the love of my life. I never remember my husband. What are we going to put in there? What do we have in the closet that's got potential? And the Odin armor here that I built for Love and Thunder a couple of years ago sits on my wrist because he's got a state mention. And I'm looking at it, hey, wait a minute. So I took Odin, got back, and his round arm discs, those are giant googly eyes.
Giant googly eyes for
And now,
our
we're
little
like,
place.
some people like razor blade on the back and pop a little googly head up.
No,
I have jewels because our baby Thor is 8. And, you know, it's always entertaining me. Nobody can hear it but me because it's jewels. So is my husband. So we took Odin, and I stripped him down to his, you know, just his culottes and his tunic top, which the tunic top was kind of dark long sort of thing, and the culottes were just a pair of women's chiffon culottes that I was thinking that he was wearing. Because he needed that kind of clothing. Okay, and he wears his Jedi boots too. So I stripped him down. I bought a Mandalorian belt just because I didn't have time to make it. I had 2 days to pull this off. So I put that on. His black, originally Harry Potter, but then that became just Black Rose because we don't talk about Joker. You know, it hurt. And then I have this just ragged old scarf in the garage at my parents' house. Who knows how long it's been there, what it was originally for. 3, 2, 1. Toss it over.
So we do have 2 audience questions and participation here. Before we do, I wanted to ask people a couple more questions about this. So, okay, so you have that's more getting an island. Okay, can you tell us about, you were going into like the detail about the scales, right? What about the other pieces of books your piece made of?
So this top piece is actually EVA foam that was given to me from Amsterdam Workshop. Sorry. He knows. closeout fabrics that they put outside. Now, my former favorite fabric store in Brooklyn, Bold Fabrics, is going out of business, obviously, because they sold their stuff for $3 a yard. So closeout fabrics, and then there's a B&Q Trimmings, amazing trimming store in the Garment District in New York, all the directors spoken, if you ever get a chance. And they have tons of just weird sequins that are closeouts. You can giant bag. I got these like kind of scaly brass shells, $8 for the entire bag. So all closed out.
That's so cheap.
Yeah,
It's insane.
all the sequins, all closed out. Yeah, this is actually from a dress I found on the street. That's my favorite. Oh, sorry. One of my favorite techniques ever is if you take scraps of lace and sew them together and cover it with flex bond, it will not fray. So you can kind of make fake filigree out of it. You can do like really elaborate armor looks, you know, after you cover it with flex bond and clean it with gold. You can also like strengthen the back with a wire, or I really love SheProp's hot glue for cosplay. That's how I did my goblin headdress. And yeah, so that's what that is.
Before I have other questions for you all, but if there's any audience questions about our cosplays, techniques, materials, please just raise your hand. We're doing so. Oh wait, we got one in the front. Yes. We always do this.
I love using like the bra pads, like old bras for like shoulder pauldrons. Yeah. Or like the like when so for anyone who doesn't know, I make these like stick on like things for like, you know, like a backless dress. And a lot of girls call them like chicken cutlets or whatever. But they're sticky, and at some point they stop being as sticky. And then you can still use them for things like, you know, I put them in stuff for like fake cleavage, where you just have like a window and you can actually like put them together and like be like, this is my fake boobs. Or I even get a like quick, when I was like, I don't have time for this, I was just safety pin them inside of a top to make shoulder pads.
I've done that.
Oh, and my other favorite thing to do with them is if you wear like a tighter shirt, is to put them, I cosplay a lot of guys, put them inside this shirt and you can just, for biceps. It looks so good. But yeah, so I like using the chicken cutlets for biceps. Gotcha. Because you can give them a little mom's old chicken cutlets.
So since you've got kids who are constantly growing, I don't even know how to formulate the question of like, how do you keep up? Like, I know broadly we've talked about like repurposing, right? Or
Like, some pieces you just can't repurpose. With at the beginning of the pandemic, our 14-year-old was 4'8". He is now 5'9". There is no repurposing of anything. It just gets passed down. But like with Alexander, baby boy, he took Viking board that I made last year, Loki. But I did it was like 3 inches too long for him, and the full farms in it. And he went to put it on in January. Oh. I tend to use a lot of random reusable pieces. Like his armor discs, mountains, or stuff like that. And a lot of multi-package clear acrylic discs. And then with a little sandpaper together, and then mounted dimensions. So like those pieces I could take off and use. But I tried multiple rows of sleeves, add this.
You're full on like theatrical costumer style.
My background is in music history. I sat down when I was 16. All right, so she has an arm and this beat. Making stuff for the concert for about hundreds of dollars for weeks. Did my first movie when I was 20, where we also had no budget. I did a film on $1,500. Thank God for the Warner Brothers and college student discount. We got the rent and those two. But yeah, lots of reusables, zippers, water poppers. And he's still using his tape that I made at the party book. It just isn't round. Love his act.
So Disneyland then.
Yes.
Can't imagine.
He's also the good one, so I'm not making.
Any other questions in the room? We got one in the very back.
If
Yes.
you're watching a show and you really want to cosplay something on there, but you want to be as authentic as you can, but you don't know the material that they're using, is there a way to kind of find that out, I guess?
Yes.
Yes.
My favorite thing to do, and like it's really great, is Google reverse image search is your friend. First of all, also a website called Spoonflower where you can we have all kinds of different fabrics, and you can submit like a picture if you have like the pattern. So like I made Ken from Barbie, and he has this fur coat, and mine has these horses. And so I went on Spoonflower. And so I went to Spoonflower, and I was like, pull up a picture I took from the show, like a screenshot. I got the horses, and I put the pattern in Photoshop, and so I submitted it, and I picked the fabric, and I was able to get the custom fabric that looked exactly the same, except it was like very cheap. And if you don't want to have it custom like that, reverse image search is really great for certain like textures and things like that, because then you can find websites that have similar looking textures. Also, and this is, I cannot tell you how much I always do this, look up other people who've cosplayed that character. Look at how they did it. There's a lot of times where like, I'm like, okay, I have a technique I think will look good, and I'll go look up how everybody did it, and I'll see that somebody did that technique, and it actually is like, oh, that is different than I want it to be, but this other person did it this way, so, you know, you can get ideas and take your pick, and like, let other people make the mistakes so you don't have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so use other cosplayers as resources. Reverse Google image search is a friend, and websites like Spoonflower are absolutely wonderful for custom.
And to back on what you're saying, get into social media. Look on Facebook.
Threads.
There is a collective. There is a lady group. There is a Dr. Strange group. There is a cosplayer group. Now I'm not in all these groups. I was asked. And you can look and you can just fire out questions. Okay, you know, what's everybody using for this and stuff? But first thing you do in any social media group, please check the files in the albums section.
Yes.
Because there is a wealth of resources just in there.
Yeah.
We figured it all out and then we share it.
Cosplayers of All in particular has dedicated albums for each film, each appearance. Like I think Louisa is the main person who started doing that silhouette cosplay. Really wants to make sure everybody has access to all the resources. And when Love and Thunder came out, the costumes were on display at the theater by the Staples Center, and I went and I had like a 2 gigabyte folder on Google Drive of like all that stuff, because I was like, the hero costumes are on display. Also, yes. So yeah, community groups for sure. SheProp being one of them. Kamui has a cosplay community on Facebook. There's being able to be like just post in the group and get feedback is really nice, because we have like such a wide variety of experience levels and stuff. But the other thing with screen accuracy is most of the time what you're seeing on screen doesn't look like that in real life. Most of Marvel's suits are CGI, and they have different ones for stunts, they have different ones for close-ups, they have different ones for full body, they have different ones for different. Like it's not the same suit even from shot to shot in the same scene. So some fandoms are like very particular about screen accuracy. The Doctor Who fandom tends to be as well. They are very, But with that, all of those costumes are usually like for real world costumes. The further away you get from sci-fi, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to find something that the costuming department went and bought somewhere. But it is going to be expensive, and if it's from the Doctor Who fandom, you won't be able to find it because they already bought all of it.
Real quick, I will also add, and this is true, is if you're trying to make things super accurate, like, okay, I found the exact fabric that exact pattern names, the exact blah, blah, blah. A lot of times in these movies, these costumes get made in a way that they break constantly and they have to be repaired. I talked to the person when I made my Blackbeard from our 5-minute set who worked on the costume, and they said they had to remake his pants like 15 times because he kept tearing them. He kept tearing the leather with his shenanigans. And so she was like, they were like, yeah, so the way we made it ended up being, so like I ended up having to like reinforce it, and mine were not as flexible as his. But at least I knew like not to expect to be able to do all the stuff he's doing on screen because I'm not making those pants once. So keep that in mind also when you're like going for screen accuracy is like, if the fabric seems kind of like weak or thin, then like you're gonna have to add a backing or maybe pick something else because they have the resources to make the costume. And you don't want to be that level of screen accuracy where you're like falling fucking on.
And also, bigger productions have the budget to make 5, 10, 15 copies of each costume.
We're not at a workshop over here on campus.
You are mentioned, right?
I have a question to hand up there, and I know there was someone over here, so we'll go over there next.
I was gonna ask, is this like your job that you guys do in cosplay? And if not, how do you make some time to do
I'm actually a stagehand and I work here and I help set up conference. And actually tomorrow I have the loadout in Ballroom 6, which, I'm changing costume, but, it's been what we're going to do as a stagehand. And like, I get like work based on the gate. So if I really need to turn a game down, so I can work on something, make that, but that's the specific job that allows me to do that.
I work with my kids are asleep. Otherwise, every 5 seconds, Mom, he's bothering me. I need the switch. I can't play. He needs to sign out so I can sign in. So my sewing hours are generally between about midnight and about 4 a.m.
Amanda, do you also work outside of the radio full time?
No, I am a full-time mom.
When I started cosplay, I had just got laid off from work, and I thought about what I wanted to do most. And I was like, I want to build crazy elaborate cosplays. And I've never been able to do that before. So I was kind of able to freelance and build a lot of cosplays. But then Cobra ran out, and I needed a full-time job. And honestly, I am struggling with time. And my social life is really lacking. Weekends and nights, it's hard. And my day job is I'm a jewelry designer.
What was your day job? I missed it.
I design licensed jewelry for different families.
Another thing to keep in mind is it's really okay to go at your own pace. Some people put out a lot of cosplay really fast all the time, and a lot of folks in the community are like also influencers who have brand deals, so they get products and they are given the time and opportunity. But certain cosplayers, like we mentioned Silhouette earlier, Louisa only does long, detail-oriented builds where she'll maybe come out with one costume every year and a half, and it'll be perfect. It'll be like custom dyed. She did a really great Galadriel, the London dress from the Rings of Crime. She custom dyed all this velvet. She did
Part
a,
1920s.
oh my god, yeah.
1920s dress fabric.
There's like a very specific textile that they used in this that's really rare that Louisa went and hunted down pieces of.
Yeah, it's Egyptian embroidered in each piece.
It's okay to go
$600. She really had to hunt to find pieces damaged and like them. But the results were so good.
I will also add real quick too, it's like for some cosplayers, like it's also about me personally, for me making costumes instead. So I'll come home after like a 12-hour workday and go work on a costume for 5 hours because that's what relaxes me. So if that's something that if I'm relaxing, then that's how you make time. A lot of cosplayers do that, but if you want to just come home and watch TV or play video games, like, accept that maybe you'll need to take longer to build your costume. Because that's how a lot of cosplayers also find time, is they just don't have sit down on TV time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be perfect and screen accurate. Like I mentioned Louisa just because that's what she's known for. Did you make this cosplay that you're wearing? Can we see it? I really like this. Is this Dark Phoenix. Yes, it's like a Hellfire Dark Phoenix. It's beautiful. Gorgeous. All right. There was someone over here earlier, about 10 minutes ago. I believe it was you.
Oh, what's your favorite cheap build?
Cheap build. Favorite cheap build.
Party sword. This is the dark fabric because he was 6.
So if you're 6.
And I could use the 19-cent, little skinny foam sheets of Bibles that are like 19 cents a piece. Ate half a dozen of those. Built some of those up. The biggest expenses I was with Joanne's actually was carrying the linen cottons at the time. So I did buy a yard and a party board lining for it because,
Of course.
And then the little googly eyes for discs, I think I was in total about $25 on that too.
Nice.
I think my favorite cheap build was the Syrian, the Ice Dragon. It's also what started my whole cosplay journey. It was all harbor-free, very cheap foam, and unfortunately, I really need to do some work on it if I want to wear it again. But it just made me so proud. It got me into it. It introduced me to this like incredibly loving, accepting community. The first time I competed in it, I felt like I found people. So I also have those memories wrapped around it. And it was, I think, total 150, for competitions.
Yeah, that's especially a phone build.
I think for me right now, honestly, I'm still like really hyped about Gideon because I just found this book and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. So and I just debuted it at May, so I'm still really proud of that one. That whole thing cost me like $30. So
Makeup heavy cosplays like that too are fun, where it's just like
half of it's
like crazy.
That's the best part. Like that I got.
How do you do makeup? I've never
What do you do?
Just kidding. Whole face. I was not me. No, that's it. Yes, there's a question over here somewhere. Is it same one now?
My question, I would actually ask, kind of goes to the last question of, what was your first build ever? And then what is your favorite build ever?
That's it.
So in 2003, I was 13 years old, and I went to my first Comic-Con, and I read my first anime/manga was Ranma 1/2, and I cosplayed as Boy Ranma, and I took like a devil costume and like hot glue with some yellow fabric for like the frog, the bow ties, and I had like sweatpants, and a friend had like, it was like a cap with a braid sewn in it. I'm glad there are no pictures of it. Just say that. And that was like 20 years ago. And I think my favorite is probably, I'm really proud of Blackbeard and Ballbeard are both really heavy costumes. So I'm really proud of this one.
So, very first one would have been with Peter Pan that I made when I was like 3 or 4. Messing around with my dad in a little green t-shirt that was getting ready to hit the rag bin. So I remember my little self. We're all up.
Safety scissors.
Yes. I went to the sewing center. My mother went, oh, no, you don't. I've always been nice girls. So that was the very first. It was just kind of started then. I've always been helping people. My favorite is a work in progress right now. This is also going to be the most expensive cosplay we've ever done. I've started building as accurate as possible Gandalf the Grey for my husband. The beard, the wig, the eyebrows are done. The hat is done.
She's actually done herself.
Some of it. I started with the sword and then the Copic markers to get it from the solid gray to the warmer gray. Build a beard out of 3 different beards together to get the right texture, layering. The linen is from Lithuania. And then tunicani is a silk from India that's, again, it's a hand woven, silkworm friendly, but the texture on it, one of the things that when I go from scratch, I'm all about texture. Those details are what take it from a costume to clothing. And I'm still working on the workings that I need to dye this and get it right because I got one shot. So it's going to be stuff, linen stuff.
I feel like my favorite build is always whatever I'm working on. But right now, I have to say, I just love wearing this. It's not my most complicated or impressive build, but I just feel beautiful in it. I feel like it expresses my personality. I love posing in it. It just makes me so happy. Here first. So I think I already told you about this is a Syrian nice jacket, which I'm still very proud of, but I didn't realize you need to build cosplays that you can sit in.
Do you need to do that?
Yes.
You should say that a little louder. That is amazing.
You always plan for how you're going to go to the bathroom.
All right.
What about around the end?
Oh, my first cosplay was a very casual winter soldier. I have a closet cosplay moment where I bought a gray jean jacket and I dyed everything with the left arm black. And then I just put a star on it, and I had like Lucky Garden staff tags. Yeah, and I just wore with like combat boots and black pants, like a tank top underneath. It was closet cosplay. My favorite build was the Loki Age of Asgard armor that I did a few years ago, which I have to shout out Anime Cosplay. They're not here, but they like lovingly walked me through every step of how they made theirs, because I was like, this is amazing. I love this character design. How do you build the foam breastplate?
Cosplayers love talking about how they made things. Ask a cosplayer, like, how did you make a thing? Well, love things. It's on their own or something. But yeah, instead of cosplayers' messages, ask them, use them as resources.
Yeah.
Just be prepared to be cornered for a good hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I would really recommend buying an armor pattern for a breastplate instead of redoing the whole thing. Just save yourself some that's a sweetie cat from Splatoon, right? Splatoon. Please tell us your question.
I was wondering if you could share your techniques for cosplays durable and all the stuff that goes in one. It's always nice to be able to use
I feel like there's so many answers to that question that might be suited more towards like contacting any of us on our thing, just because there's a lot of other people and we have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, but is there a specific build that you have in mind?
Yeah.
I'll reach out.
Yeah, we would, any of us will absolutely message with you for a long time.
The top one I would say is using good adhesive. Use barge cement, not hot glue. If you're working with foam, use a sewing machine instead of hand sewing, depending on what you're making, just because it's going to be faster and last longer. Stuff like that.
And before you leave home, take it for a little road test.
Yeah,
Go
do the
up and
steps.
down your stairs.
Learn how to
Learn
repair.
the mail. Do these things. My son discovered the hard way. He did road tests in Springtown. And I didn't realize just how much duct tape he used in that building. When we got out, somebody popped into him on the train, and his whole thigh was now you know.
Okay. Who else? This one in the back corner, madam, you had your hand up for a little bit.
Well, she said she had a hand up on it.
Go ahead.
Like, how would you go about, like...
Hold on, I cannot hear you.
So how would you go about making, like, you know, like, all this goblin mask, or something that, like, appears to your face, the way that the her mask on, or whatever that's done before? Like, how would you go about making that, like...
So making a mask that stays on your face without like elastics or anything? Crozet, we use adhesive to keep stuff like that on.
Yeah, fabric, and then use glue like Browse, which is prosthetic adhesive. You can get it online. Friends who supply FRENDS, I would say it's a lot of different ones.
Leather masks are also good.
That make sure that your skin might have sensitive skin because you've never done this before, you don't know. Always do like a skin test. Use a glue or a tape, put it on your hand or put it on the inside of the wrist, just like more sensitive skin, and test that first. But yeah, glues and double-sided tapes are your best friend. Like make sure it's skin safe.
And use the remover.
Yeah, don't please do not just remove that.
Oh, and also if your mask extends beyond your hairline, you can hide magnets.
Yes.
The Loki ones like this are held on with magnets under that wing. That wing has four magnets under the
magnets. They're stronger.
Yeah, neodymium rare earth magnets. All right, I see a couple of hands in the back corner there. On the end first.
Yeah, you mentioned that you do the vote out of the of shows and things like that, or this thing. But I actually have two questions. First one is, does any place around here, like I know some theaters in New York, if you hang out at vote out, you can get stuff. Do any of them here do that?
You're not supposed to take or accept anything from anything like that. Sometimes stuff gets left behind, and it doesn't disappear.
Or you can
magically end up
dumpster dive after they leave.
On an official basis, that's not something.
So you can do some dumpster diving, I think, after they leave. And then the next question is, which I do a lot of scavenging and stuff. How do you, I don't know if any of you do that, but how do you organize the stuff that you get that you doesn't necessarily have a place yet? So I have like two
miscellaneous
big
I go to like an IKEA or a thrift store and get dressers with plastic onto floors, and then stack plastic bins from like Walmart. I'll have like medium-sized bins, and on top of that, I'll stack smaller ones with drawers in it. And so I have this just tower of dresser drawers, and then pull plastic drawers, and smaller ones, and then put tape, label it like buttons, beads, and metal bits, string, like bits of whatever, gloves, and you can literally like just take a small space with that and like just build it all the way up. And my garage is like the walls and
Thank you.
Categorize or organize materials. This hand's been up for a while in the front.
I was wondering if there are any tools, techniques that resolve it, anything that kind of area that information you about earlier, like your groups, this is the one that's sometimes counted.
barge cement.
Large contact
Those
cement.
of you that have a
Wear
small
a mask.
apartment without any ventilation and cannot use barge cement, I highly recommend SheProp's cosplay hot glue.
Yes.
It is not like regular hot glue, it's more like a resin. And also a lot of people will use plasti dip, which is also kind of toxic. If you don't have ventilation, you can't use it.
Always wear a mask when you're doing this stuff, not when it's jumping.
So a great alternative, my favorite go-to, I buy this stuff by the gallon, is Flex Bond again, and it has so many applications. I love dipping cheesecloth in it. You can make like decayed wings. Like I said, you can put it over lace and kind of turn it into metal filigree. It makes foam play, like I swear to God, it changes the molecular structure of foam play. It makes it so pliable and flexible, it doesn't crack. I can't live without flexible.
I haven't used that yet. I need to play with it.
My new favorite thing that I discovered, and I love it, is two-part epoxies that, like the 5-minute cure, they're extremely strong. They mix, like I said, they're like harder in like 5-10 minutes. It's just 2 bottles. The smell's not usually like toxic, and I'll just usually get a bunch of plastic cups. I'll flip them upside down. I'll squeeze half parts, grab a popsicle stick, stir it up. You can attach just plastics and fabrics and fixing a prop. Like I always bring some to a con because it's super duper strong and it's really great for 3D print. Like, and you can get it at Home Depot, you can get like sometimes at Target. But yeah, 2-part epoxies. I love a lot of like that. We want to make sure that the time is like 5-10 minute cure, not one fast.
Yeah. I think we've time for one last question. Oh, E6000, another great glue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll adhere most things. All right, you in the front.
How would you go about grabbing and buying like products so hard of your costume? Say like on the video or the car, like that have the same like around. How would you go about like?
Oh, there's a lot of, let's very technical. That's what I would really recommend bringing to a community like that. How do you guys build this? That's an anime cosplay question. They are like so good at that sort of thing with wigs and like
expensive wires, using plastic, thermoplastics, clear ones that you can use and then build it, so it's like clear, you don't see it as much. Again, that's one that's incredibly specific based on what it is you're trying to make, what your sensors physically, how much weight you can carry on you, like all that kind of stuff. And again, that would be really good one for either going into those communities or you can go to any one of our pages and ask us personally with specific questions. But yeah, there's a lot of answers to that question.
we have time for one more. We have a couple minutes left. In the back.
So saving scraps is really easy to like save too many. I personally know that. What do you all have a personal rule of like how small is too small? You don't keep it.
Yeah. So the question is, sometimes when you're saving scraps, they can really pile up. Do you have a personal rule of like, okay, if something is smaller than this, I'm not keeping it, or like how do you not just have overflowing craft stash?
I mean, it depends on things like Orba, you heat it up, and then you can basically use it like clay. I'll keep all the pieces of that. With fabrics, I generally, if it's smaller than this, I will toss it. Things that can be reused, like buttons and things like that, those I'll keep. But yeah, if it's just like little, especially with fabrics, if it's smaller than this, like.
What about you guys?
When it comes to fabric, I look at what is the smallest piece of suit. And if the scrap is at least that big, that piece of bricks, then yes. But over the last 30 years, I've also discovered one that I just square it off for the rest of the
I just found a use for foam scraps, little tiny ones. I have started to build my own weight heads, and they need to have weight so they stay upright. So after I build the weight head out of foam, which is also from scraps, I take all the tiny scraps and I shove as many as I can get in there to make it as heavy as possible. It's a great way to get rid of those little tiny scraps you feel guilty throwing away.
All right, thank you everybody. So if you would like to find or get in touch with any of us, these are our social media handles, and then SheProp is on Facebook and Instagram and Discord. Thank you.